Let's go. The Badgers are throwing haymakers out there. It has been reported that Jim Leonhard is going to stay on staff as a defensive coordinator. This is gigantic news. Let's talk about it. What does it mean? And is this just further affirmation that the Badgers are at the big boy table now? Let's get into it. Let's go. Short show, but we got to do it on Wisconsin. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every day, multiple times a day during coaching transitions, right? And I just got done telling everybody, hey, I'm not going to do a show every time a new coach comes or stays or there's news. But listen, Bob Bosted's a big deal, right? Jim Leonhard is a big deal. Those dudes get reaction shows because those dudes move the needle, right? One way or the other. Those dudes move perception, they move culture, they move everything, especially Jim Leonhard. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs and information. It is the number one source for all the latest trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts. And this isn't even going to be a long show because we're going to do a reaction show probably later today. Well, we are doing one later today after the Marquette game. By the way, that one's going to be a little later because I have to coach my kids' basketball team. So it's not going to be right after the Marquette game. But we're going to do a basketball reaction show after the Marquette game, which I guarantee you is going to also delve into more Jim Leonhard. But we got to talk about this. This is huge. Let's start with y'all. Honestly, I always start the show. I always talk first. Let's kick it to y'all. Dallas Cowboys. I knew it. Let's go. I see you, man. Let's go. Owen Elkins. If this is true, Wisconsin could not have done a better job with the coaching transition. Yes, 100%. I said they're throwing haymakers. Listen, you can make an argument right now that the Wisconsin Badgers have a top 3 coach in the Big Ten. You can make the argument, or maybe top 4, and a top 3, top 2 defensive coordinator in the Big Ten. Okay? You could make an argument that they have the best, outside of maybe Michigan. You could absolutely argue Michigan. They have the best head coach defensive coordinator combo in the Big Ten right now. One of the best in the country. That argument is absolutely valid. This is an enormous move. I love it so much. I'm over the moon with this. Jay Daly. Jim Leonhard just showed everyone what class is. Bravo, Jim Leonhard. Yeah. Yes. First of all, Jim Leonhard is that dude, right? He is that dude. And a lot of coaches, a lot of people, not just coaches, a lot of people wouldn't have the humility is maybe the wrong word, but wouldn't be able to stay in this moment and continue coaching with this team, right? It would be too difficult for a number of reasons that are completely understandable, by the way. It's why so many people thought Jim Leonhard wouldn't stick around, because there's a lot of reasons for him not to. After publicly campaigning for the job and then not getting it. Yes, Jay Daly, great quote. Brian Shetty, I love Jim. Build him a statue. I'll chip in on that. Like someone else said, I saw it on Twitter. I think it was Dylan Graff, who I love, by the way. If you guys aren't following Dylan Graff on Badger Notes, that dude's awesome. I love what he does. He said I would take a bullet for Jim Leonhard for real. Jim Leonhard, I love Jim Leonhard. And every show we've talked about who we should get the job. I've always said, I think Fickell's a better hire. I've always said, even from the beginning when Fickell wasn't on the table, Wisconsin should wait, right? If y'all remember, I was one of the people saying Wisconsin needs to wait. Don't take the interim takeoff. See who might be out there. But I've always loved Jim Leonhard. Like, it's never been I don't want Jim Leonhard around thing. This is the best of both worlds. It's incredible. Jay Daly says, Jim Leonhard equals legend. Dallas Cowboys again, I'm so pumped. Andy Worgan, happy day. I hope it works out. Woo! I don't know if that's how you meant to say the woo, but that's how I'm saying it. Again, Andy Worgan, officially my favorite Badger. There's so many great comments. I appreciate all y'all tuning in. This is spur of the moment, too. This is the incredible community we're building, by the way. As this fly is buzzing around my head. But we just went live a few minutes ago, really didn't advertise it at all. We got 60 people watching, a bunch of comments. That's a reflection of all of y'all. It's a reflection of the guests we have on the show. I'm so excited for this, man. Kip Bordeaux, 100%. Jay Daly again. We got a bunch of comments. Rajiv chiming in. Obviously, friend of the show. Let's hope the locker room stays well intact. Very happy about this, but it has to be said. I'm going to get into that in a second. I think that's an interesting question, and I think I have a different way to looking at that. I think this is Rajiv, actually. Dominique Shiro, this is awesome. He's staying for when Fickell goes to OSU. Ooh, Dominique, I like that. Right? Like that thought actually hadn't entered my brain yet. I think Leonhard leaves before Fickell. Let me be clear. I think Fickell's going to be here for a while. But let's just say the nightmare scenario, the apocalypse scenario that people have talked about, where Fickell comes in and leaves in a year or 2 years. then maybe Jim Leonhard's still there and has a couple more years of grooming. I like it. That's an interesting thought, Dominique. Let's keep going here. So many good comments already. Kip Bordeaux, humility is the correct term. Yeah, I agree. Jordan Lavera, pay that man his money. He's going to get paid. I mean, he was paid well last year. I mean, Jim Leonhard was over the million mark as a coordinator. So compensation has never been the issue, right? He's going to be very well paid, as well he should be. Let's keep going. Ben Big Ten says, yes, we love you, JL. That's the other thing with Leonhard, right? And Scary Alvarez was on the show, by the way, and that dude is awesome. I love that. I love talking to him. But one of the things he said, and he hammered it home, is every single one of these Badger coaches are exemplary people, right? So Ben Big Ten, we love you, JL. Everybody loves that dude, right? There's never a bad word about Jim Leonhard. So it just enhances what Luke Fickell's going to do here. I am over the moon with this hire. Now, y'all know me. I'm a typically optimistic guy anyway. But I think that the people looking for flies in the ointment here, you have to use a microscope, honestly. And I'm going to get into some of the questions people have. I think there are legitimate questions, but I'm going to tell you why I don't think they're real concerns, at least for me. I'm not telling anyone else how to think. Adam Hansen, boom shakalaka. Yeah, taking the NBA Jam approach. I love it. Ty Rom, Fickell's defensive coordinator came over from Cincy, so what will he be doing? Yeah, it's a great question. That's one of the reasons, Ty, that we all assume Leonhard won't stay, right? Tressel's coming over. He was the DC linebackers coach. There's a safeties coach coming over as well. Listen, I would be stunned. I'm already surprised Jim Leonhard's staying, so I've already been wrong on this, which I make no bones about throwing that out there. I misread this one. I thought he would be gone. I think what's going to happen is Tressel probably coaches linebackers and special teams. Tressel has a background of coaching special teams as well. And Jim Leonhard is just the defensive coordinator now. And you probably take safeties off his plate because the safeties coach is coming over from Cincinnati as well. Excuse me. That's how I would see it working out. But we'll have to wait and see. Craig Hendricks, this is flipping awesome. Rajiv Chabra says, yes, this is me, Ryan. I don't know any other Rajivs, but I was just making sure. Always a pleasure. And I think we're going to talk to you again later on the reaction show from Marquette. I hope anyway. Cold Stone, what is he coaching, or will he be the defensive coordinator? We just kind of talked about that. He's got to be coming back as the DC. I think anything else would be too much of a slap in the face, even for Jim Leonhard, the humility there. I don't think that's going to work. Brady Steinberg said, get a street named after Jim Leonhard. Yeah. So, and there's a bunch more comments too. I'm going to stop there. I definitely wanted to give the floor to y'all because you guys do such an amazing job of supporting the show. And I wanted to get it out there and talk about it. Now I want to talk about a couple of my big picture things, right? Why I think this is such a home run outside of the obvious fact that he's an incredible defensive coordinator. So one of the biggest things I've been thinking about with this potential move is, let me use this to address one of the concerns. One of the big concerns is what will happen in the locker room for a lot of players who, quite frankly, I mean, no bones about it, they wanted Jim Leonhard to be the head coach. So what happens in the locker room now, right? Is there a chance players maybe would rather still have Jim Leonhard, and that plays out during the season where you have some mixed messaging, where maybe you have a divided culture, a divided locker room? I'm going to flip that on its head. What I'm going to say is, Jim Leonhard is the perfect guy, if you can bring him in, which they're able to do, to help ease this locker room tension, because now their boy is coming back. Right now, Jim Leonhard is coming back. And what does that do for players? That tells you that the guy you believed in believes in Luke Fickell, right? Think about the vote of confidence Luke Fickell just got from the ambassador of UW football, Jim Leonhard. That's how you need to look at this. Players are now going to see this and say, the guy we wanted, Jim Leonhard, man, he's good with this. He's bought in, because he wouldn't be staying if he didn't. So to me, I think this helps the culture. It helps heal up the locker room if it needs to be healed up, because I think it gives those players a bit of that rock still in the locker room that they can look to, that they can believe in. And it gives them a bit of belief that Luke Fickell's the guy, because Jim Leonhard's not staying around for a bozo, right? So I think it helps the locker room. I think it helps the culture. I think it helps ease the divisions. I think it also probably, and I've said for a long time, I don't really care about, I do care, but max exodus, transfer portals, like I've always said, get the right head coach. And if that means losing a lot of players, that's a necessary evil. But you put up with it if you get the right guy. Well, what if you can get the right guy, Luke Fickell, and still not lose a bunch of your players? And I think keeping Jim Leonhard also helps keep any potential, I don't want to say there's ever going to be a mass exodus, but it's going to keep that down, right? So because now you have Jim Leonhard on board as well. I just think this is such an incredibly great hire. frankly, I don't even really see a major downside because Jim Leonhard is that dude. Like, Jim Leonhard's not going to let a locker room at Wisconsin mutiny itself. Okay. And I guarantee you that they had conversations, Fickle, Tressel, Leonhard, McIntosh, will this work from a culture locker room standpoint? Does this make sense? And I fully believe that if they didn't all say, yes, this makes sense, they would not have moved forward. Okay. So I think this is the best of both worlds. Deborah says it right here. It's the best of all possibilities. Very happy. That's it. It's the best of all possibilities. And I am just blown away at how quickly Wisconsin has rebuilt its coaching staff into what is going to be one of the best, regardless of what else happens. This is going to be one of the best coaching staffs in the Big Ten, in the country, potentially. I'm so excited for it. We're going to come up, again, this is a quick show, a quick reaction. We're going to talk next about a few more of the potential risks, but what I still think are a bunch of the upsides. We're going to take some more comments, and then we're going to move on to Marquette tonight. So coming up next after this quick break from our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs and information. It's what I use for live betting, futures betting, in-game betting. And again, I keep beating that drum. If y'all want to make some money, make some change, go to BetOnline, bet on the Suns to win the NBA Finals and the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. You're welcome. Take that change that you're going to make off of those bets. Go buy some Badger helmets, get some Badger swag, get a Jonathan Taylor autographed rookie card, right? And then thank me later. Thank you, Ryan, for putting me onto the Niners and the Suns early. So BetOnline is where I go to do that. It has all the latest trends, actions. Again, every sport too: golf, esports, NASCAR, UFC, football, basketball, baseball. It's all there, plus live casino games. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's keep going here. I'd be reticent if I didn't say how much I appreciate all y'all jumping on, talking about this all the time. Again, we had to do a quick show because Jim Leonhard coming back is seismic, right? And I don't think we ever listen. There was a time where we were worried about Jim Leonhard leaving for another job and being left with Paul Chryst as a head coach, right? And not a show again to dance on Paul Chryst's grave, but we've gone from that scenario, losing the best, most exciting coach on our roster, to still having him and upgrading to Luke Fickell. They threw a haymaker this offseason. Like, this is an incredible coaching staff that they're putting together. And I don't know how long it'll stay together. Maybe just a year. Maybe this is an opportunity for Jim Leonhard to really focus professionally on his next stop and be more strategic about it, because he's been so focused on the Wisconsin job. He really hasn't had an opportunity to look at what else is out there as much as he probably would, because he's just assumed. I think it's always been assumed he's going to be the next head coach here. Now that that's kind of removed, maybe this is a year where he focuses be a great defensive coordinator. And then, you can be a little more strategic from his perspective on, all right, where do I want to go next? And maybe it's staying. I don't know. Like, none of us thought he was good. I shouldn't say none, because I don't want to speak for people. The majority thought he wouldn't even stay this year. So maybe it's a couple years. Maybe he's here for a couple years. You never know. But, it's amazing. And the other thing I would say, because I've heard, and I've made this point. Listen, I've made this point. I've made the point of, are there too many cooks in the kitchen? Too many defensive guys? How's that going to work? That's what big boy football is. That's what Saban does, right? I had someone in the comments the other day say, listen, Saban does it. If you want to be big boy football, get the best coaches you can think of in the same room together and trust that your leader, the guy you're paying $7 million, $8 million a year, is going to figure it out. And that's what they did. So I love it. I think it's an incredible move. We're going to talk about this a bunch more. I don't even have much time to talk about it right now, but I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to discuss it. I think it's a great move because you're going to get the best coaches possible in the room. You're going to ensure the best parts. Here's another one too. You're going to ensure the best parts of Wisconsin's culture, that defensive culture, the embodiment of an in-state player, having that pride for Wisconsin, stays with this new staff with Jim Leonhard, right? So you're carrying over a lot of parts of your previous culture that really worked for you while getting rid of some of the parts that don't. So it's incredible. Let's bang a couple more comments out here. A Lad says, glad to hear it. JL can learn from a very successful coach. JL is all in for Wisconsin. This can work. I think that's the key. He's all in for Wisconsin. Like, this is not a guy you have to worry about wrecking a locker room. He won't let it happen. I'm telling you right now, he will not let it happen. All right. He's not going to go in there and be whispering things in players' ears like, well, I would have done this. No, that's not Jim Leonhard. Like, this may only be a 1-year thing, but it's going to work for the year. I'm 99% confident in it. You can never be 100%, but Jim Leonhard is that dude. Uncultured Barbarian, amazing that they swung this. Yes, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. Let's see some more comments on here. Oh, Dominique, what about the rumors about Chris to Stanford? I saw those. It could fit. Like Stanford feels more like a Chris destination, quite frankly. I think he would probably align more with the administrative staff there. I don't think I know the expectations aren't as high. I could see it. That wouldn't be the worst move on either side. Let's see. Jeff Ferris says the common goal with Luke and Jim is to compete for Big Ten championships, 12-team playoffs, ultimately national championship. That's the other thing. If you remember, one of the things, and Jeff, thank you for the comment. One of the things that Jim Harbaugh. My goodness, Jim Leonhard. One of the things that Jim Leonhard constantly said is, I want to help Wisconsin get to the next level, right? Maybe with Luke Fickell and a better offense, he can now fulfill that part of his goal too, right? That goal is still there for Jim. Like he can still help Wisconsin get to the next level as a defensive coordinator with now a more elevated staff around him. So yeah, I'm sure that probably fed into this. Let's keep going here. Mr. Big Jam 88. That's a good name. What in the world? This is my dream coming true in front of my eyes. No one pinched me. Not a dream, man. It sounds like it's happening. And credit to Chris McIntosh, Luke Fickell, and obviously Jim Leonhard. It sounds like they pulled it off. Like this is even the last couple of days, you've heard rumors about what if Michigan goes after Jim Leonhard. What about apparently Matt Rule, the Nebraska's new coach, reached out to Jim Leonhard. That's according to Nebraska sources. So this dude he's the dude at defense, man. And you've been able to bring him in and keep him. I'm so excited for this. We're going to wrap it up there. Again, we have a bunch more to talk about. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to talk tonight after Marquette. But on Wisconsin, let's go. This is a big deal.